Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live, where we go ahead and cover the biggest racing every weekend. And this weekend, we're going to Florida. We're like snowbirds from New York who are just fleeing from this crazy amount of snow. And we're joining the likes of Barry Spears down in the Sunshine State. But Gulfstream Park got a big card, really fun card, big fields. And we're going to talk about the last six races, which does consist of the pick six. I know me personally, I'm not going to be playing the pick six, but a man who, if has never seen a mandatory he didn't like, Mr. Mark Capitan. Mark, I actually don't even know if the Gulfstream Park pick six is going to be a Mando, but I do know that there's a possibility of you maybe getting some tournament plays in.
Yeah, there is always that possibility. I do not think it's a Mando. I think the Mando normally comes on the day after Pegasus. They normally do it on Sunday, but there's a chance I might buy into the to the Pegasus. There's a 6K buy-in tournament, 5K live, 1K prize pool tournament. I wanted to cap the sequence and sort of see were there horses I liked, were there plays I liked. Did it kind of fit my style? And I think it kind of does. It's a really fun sequence. Obviously, we're getting weather up here. They're talking wind chills of like 50 below on top of the mountains, so there's a good chance we might get canceled. And if we do, I may degen really hard on Saturday.
A man who does not need weather to degen really hard, Mr. Caleb Knight. Caleb, how are you doing, man?
I'm fighting for my life over here, Josh, but can't complain. A good segue. But busy week. But the Pegasus card, as regular viewers of the stream know, we're not exactly the biggest supporters of Gulfstream, but this card is phenomenal. I mean, every race in the sequence is deep, 10, 12, 14 horses, competitive. I mean, even some of the shorter prices, I think are vulnerable, so it'll be fun to kind of walk through that sequence. So I'm excited for Saturday. It's a really fun card.
Yeah. Mark, I actually got information that I don't think you would ever believe.
Ooh,
Mark, did you know?
Ooh.
Did you know that 61% of people who watch this don't subscribe?
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm pulling out that YouTube move.
Wow, that is.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Hit the damn subscribe button, people. My goodness. Anyways, Ryan Viega saying, "Let's go!" Made it for the live show. I saw Stephen Fox spamming GP everywhere he could. And then he got promptly put into timeout by Mark. So hopefully we get Stephen Fox back at some point. But this is a crazy card. And honestly, I think, Caleb, to your point a little bit, you get a couple of these races that really make these horizontal sequence, at least for me, very, very hard to play. I was on earlier on the horse racing happy hour with Louis Rabeau. You guys can catch that out on Horse Racing Happy Hour on Twitter. We got a replay up there. I think it also goes out in podcast form. But I was on there with Danny Brewer and the Sniper and obviously Louis, and we were talking through this. And like me personally, like I don't think the pick 5 or the pick 6 are in my future. I'm actually going to be probably mostly keying the turf pick 3, that late turf pick 3, $3. I love those bets. I'm banging a drum for hopefully Turfway to adopt the late pick 3 to be a $3 bet. But you brought up a good point. There's a couple of races in here, and the reason that makes this race this tough for me is you get a lot of short prices that you get the combination of like you can poke holes into them, but then you look at the rest of the field and you can kind of poke holes in the rest of the field, and there's a lot of races where there's maybe one or two horses that I don't think can win, and it's a 10-horse field. So it makes these horizontal sequences really, really tough. Obviously, if you have a strong opinion in any of these races, it is an opportunity. But we're going to kind of just jump right into it because, we're getting in here. And I see a Penn State Scott saying, "Do I need to ask the questions?" My guess is, "What are we drinking?" Stephen Fox already knew. Caleb, I think, might be drinking Pepto Bismol. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's got. Mark, you got some wine there. Is it from your friend the Schaefer's?
It is not from my friends the Schaefer's. Red Paint Bordeaux, as one does.
I got a an early Valentine's Day gift for my wife. We were at the store, and there was a bottle of Still Austin cask strength rye. I heard really good things about Still Austin on Reddit. People seem to love it, and this I think was like a 60 or $70 bottle. It was pretty, but it was half off. It was on clearance. I think I sent it to Caleb and in our bourbon group, Caleb, Mark, and a couple other people. And Caleb's like, I don't know anything about that, but I'd give it a shot at that price. So
Totally worth it.
I had a sip of it. I thought it was delicious last weekend. So thumbs up for me. But that's why I'll
What is
be,
it? Weeder?
sipping it.
Or
No, it's a rye.
what is it?
It's a barrel.
Oh, it's a rye?
barrel
Okay.
proof rye. Yeah. So I think it's like around like
Ooh,
116 proof. So
Okay, not something I would like then. Okay.
no, but we're moving into the Hooper here, and Caleb, this was one of the races that I think, like this race alone, like and it being the first leg, is like reason enough for me not to want to play this pick six. Like I said, whether or not it's manual, it sounds like it's not. So we get around that, but like a horse like this won Life and Times, 90% of the time I'm like absolute. This is the Caleb special. Let's try and beat this horse. Like, it's only got 2 starts, went backwards his second start, coming off a layoff, has never, a bunch of stuff you can. Jose Lascano riding for Todd Pletcher of all things. Like, I mean, you're just like absolutely all kinds of like red flags. But then, like, I look at a horse like Knightsbridge. I mean, this horse looks fake as hell. Bayer loved the Mr. Prospector. Time form, a little bit more lukewarm on it. And then you look at the 125 two back, it's a mud fig, right? You can't trust that. So even this horse kind of came back to I think kind of fits in with the field, because you look at the rest of this field and like you see a bunch of like 117s, 118s out there. So I'm curious, Caleb, how did you kind of see this race? I'm poking holes through the favorites, but I don't know if I could completely toss either.
Yeah, I think that for me, I'm most against Life and Times on the rail here, and it's mostly just the post is what kind of scares me away from a horse like Life and Times. I remember this horse from throughout earlier in the winter at Aqueduct. The horse took no money on debut at all, and ran a huge race. Didn't beat much, but ran a huge race. And then I remember having this internal debate with myself when he shows up in that allowance spot on December 6th. And I just didn't trust the horse, but that field was just so bad. I mean, Dreamlike was the clear second. So that kind of tells you what the quality of the field was there. So I'm like, I ended up singling him that day, and he ran a good race. But to use him here, this is a way, way, way different ball game compared to the horses he's been running against up at Winter Aqueduct. He's a horse that has not really proven the ability to, come off the pace from his 2 starts. I mean, I guess he was second by a head, but he was right up on the pace in that last win. And with the rail draw here, I just think that really it kind of limits the options Lascano would have with him. He almost has to go in this race, and I think he's going to have a lot of company up front. I mean, you mentioned the number 6 Knightsbridge. If I'm taking a short price, I do prefer Knightsbridge the most, mostly because he has the word knight in his name, but also a little bit as I just think he's much more proven. I mean, he's a grade 3 winner. He's run more consistent figures and has a larger body of work. He clearly likes Gulfstream. So I do prefer Knightsbridge to Life and Times, but honestly, I'm not crazy about either one, because I do kind of think there's a chance they go out there and bring each other up a little bit on the front end. And that's not even factoring in a horse like the number 4, Con Campagna, who, with Luis Saez getting up, is probably going to be ridden pretty aggressively. Or even the 7, Back 'em Up, who, has a lot of speed and is stretching out from sprint races out to this mile, and is kind of his only way to go is going to be, forward. So for me, I know it's Gulfstream and, speed tends to play well here, but I wasn't enamored with either short price. I do prefer Knightsbridge over Life and Times, but my top pick was actually the number 2, Steel Sunshine. This is a horse that I mean, A, loves Gulfstream. I mean, 7 of his 8 career wins are here at this track, and 6 of his 13 wins, or 6 of 13 lifetime going this 1-turn mile here at Gulfstream. For whatever reason, they keep trying to make him into a turf horse, and that's just not really what he does best. I mean, he's 8 for 28 over the dirt and 0 for 5 on turf. So for me, I think Steel Sunshine gets the right pace setup in here. He owns figures last year that put him in the conversation to win this. And he kind of has stepped forward in a few starts this year, if you kind of throw out some of those turf races, especially. That handicap 2-back that he won was actually quite nice. The 3-back, he kind of ended up just not being able to close into a slow pace. He was also the high weight that day, carrying 124 pounds. So for me, I think Steel Sunshine gets a much better pace setup here over a track and configuration that he really likes. And, some of those races last year, I mean, second to Mind Frame, third to, Rocket Can, beaten, then he obviously in over his head against, White Abario and Locked and Skippy Longstocking. He has good races last year. And I think if he gets back to one of those, he's in with a big chance.
Yeah, I talked a little about the short prices. Honestly, if I'm playing anything tournament wise or anything like that, I'm keen around one horse in this spot, and I think this might be the first. We're gonna see. We hit the old Pratt Simp alert. I actually really like the number 9 in this spot, and I thought I saw someone in chat also. I think Penn State Scott.
That's my second A. I'll have 2 A's, Josh. That's my other A. So
yeah, I think pace setup wise, I think this is going to set up nicely for Nelson Avenue. I think he's a horse that seems to be going the right way. Ended up on a high last time out. Now a little bit of a question, right? Because this is a 7-year-old now, so I mean, you expect him first off the almost 90-day layoff to kind of fire near his top again. A little questionable there, but Flavian decides to ride here, and the price seems right at 8-1 in the morning line. We'll see what price we actually get here. Mark, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I mean, I know Caleb hates him, so therefore, I'm probably going to single him, and that's life and times. I think this horse just has kind of unlimited top end potential. Like, we don't know what he is yet. Yes, he took him 5 years to find the track. 4 years, I guess, to find the track. But both of his wins have just kind of been freakish first time out. We don't really know how good he is. He just sort of ran away and hid in his both of his first 2 starts, and I think he has every right to take a step forward. Contentious pace tool kind of first or in his last out race, didn't have a problem with that, put away the horse and just went around, ran for fun. You can make an argument that who is he keeping company with? What's the quality of those fields? I totally agree with that. But the figures came back phenomenal for him. And, I don't know what the story is, why it took him so long to find the track. I'm sure there was some sort of issue here, but I think Life and Times to me is just the kind of horse you want. I think I know what Knightsbridge is. I think Knightsbridge is a nice horse. But and then, I think Nelson Avenue, sure, is interesting, except for he doesn't like to win, quite honestly. In the last, I don't know, year or 2 years, has not found the winner's circle very often. So I'll take the new fresh face, the horse that I think has a lot of upward potential, and that's Life and Times. And I think he's just a single for me here. I think I can single in the first leg and the last leg of this pick 6, and then I want a lot of coverage in the middle.
So we don't talk about this a ton, right? If Andrew Champagne was on here, I'm sure this would be the first thing he would say. But any concern at all, Mark, with the fact that his first 2 starts were on Lasix, and now he's coming off Lasix for this race?
Always a concern. Yeah, that is always a concern. I think that's the one kind of chink in the armor here is he a horse that needs Lasix to show his best stuff, and that's always a concern. Yeah. And that is the one thing I would bring up here, but I think that's a question mark for a few others in here. Somebody like Caleb's 2 Steel Sunshine, who's another horse that's best stuff has come on Lasix. Knightsbridge has shown that probably doesn't matter. So if you're concerned about the Lasix angle, maybe you do kind of lean with the 6 over the 1. But I think I'll take that shot.
Any other horses in here, Caleb, that you want to talk about?
The only other horse that I thought was a little bit interesting in here was the number 5 Tour Player. this is a weird horse, right? I mean, it kind of feels like it's a incognito Baffert, not really a Beckman horse, considering
Yeah.
that, yeah, they ship this horse east and run him under different trainers a few different times here, and they kind of put him back west and put him under Bob, or so like, I don't know the ownership Graham Gray stable. This is the kind of horse that would typically end up in Bob's barn. It just seems like, but this is a horse that I wasn't sure what to do with. It has closed into a couple of fairly slow paces in his last couple of starts, and then sat just off of a slow pace in his last out win at Churchill going 7 furlongs. I mean, tap into this, exited that race to come back with a monster 120 time form, in the coach takes at Oaklawn. So, I do kind of think, I don't think you get 20 to 1 on this horse, but if you do, I think he must be on all your tickets. But I think even at like 10 to 1 or 8 to 1, this is a horse that I have some interest in. I don't know, how good he really is. I mean, clearly he's a horse with some soundness issues, but he's one that I'll probably have on a few tickets.
Yeah, I think that horse is at least interesting. Horses run won his last three, 3 or 4 going this trip. So interesting player, and I don't know what the connections angle is because in and out of the Baffert barn, like you said a bunch of times, is that just where Baffert couldn't enter Churchill entries, therefore they were flipping him in and out or something? I don't know what the situation is, but yeah, I mean it's one of those horses at 20 to 1. Sure, if you get that kind of price, interesting player, interesting outsider at least.
All right. Move on to race 9, the McKnight. Grade 3 here, going 1.5 miles on the turf. Your morning line favorite in this race is the 3 Ohana Honor. On time form, looks to be pretty formidable, I think, in this spot. Was a horse that I think kind of finished. Only had 3 starts last year, but kind of progressed pretty well and finished strong with the stakes race going 1 mile and an eighth. Maybe a bit of a question if this horse wants to go this far. I mean, you see a couple of good races going 1 mile and 3/8. You do have a 1.5 mile win at Keeneland, but seemed to kind of tail off in 2024. Came back with, like I said, a small sample size last year, and I think stacks up really well against this field. Maybe a little bit of a question on what the pace is going to look like in this race. It doesn't seem like there's much pace in here. So I don't know, maybe a little, we'll see kind of how that ends up staking out, playing out. I do like the number 1 Zverev for Mike Maker and Irad Ortiz here. This is a horse that just ran a 1.25 miles at Turfway Park for a best figure, but seemed to, since getting claimed by Mike Maker 3 back, and they decide, hey, let's stretch this horse out. Oh, surprise, Mike Maker's getting this horse to stretch out and run well, and you got basically 3 of the horse's best, if not the 3 best efforts, coming in off of 3 straight wins. Gets Irad Ortiz, and Saturday Irad is much different than Thursday and Friday Irad. So yeah, I really like the 1 Zverev in this spot. And then the one horse I have kind of written down as a B is the 6 Missed the Cut. And this is kind of an interesting horse. I think this is a horse that's going to be maybe a little forwardly placed in this spot. Now, obviously, pace figures seem to kind of be like, well, not really agree. But you're getting Zayas aboard. You got a horse that has shown some early speed and some tactical speed earlier in his career. I mean, I'm not calling Zayas to give some kind of heady ride usually, right? I want him to kind of get the horse out and break. But granted, last time, the horse did break 9th, but that was going a much shorter route of ground. So I think maybe here, with it being a bit longer, that maybe this horse will show a little bit more speed. It's got back races that fit. I think that Louisville 2 back, finished 3rd in that race to Verstappen and Utah Beach, who I think would both look pretty good in this field. So yeah, I like the 6 Missed the Cut in this spot as a B. Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, we're not totally different here, Josh. I had a hard time in this race. You know, I don't, I don't think Ohana Honor is really all that talented of a racehorse. Um, but this field came up pretty soft. Ohana Honor, tends to beat the fields that he's supposed to beat. Won at even money last time. His win prior to that came at 3-2 basically. But when he takes money and when he's appropriately spotted, he does tend to get the job done. And I guess he is a deserving favorite in here, but I sure wouldn't want to take a price that's much shorter than the 5-2 morning line on him, because I just don't think he's much of a standout in here. I do agree with you that there's no speed in this race. And that's kind of why I'm trying to twist my head and angle my neck and squint my eyes and convince myself that this 2-horse has a chance, Act a Fool. Maybe that's what I'm doing by going for this horse, but I do just kind of think that you'll at least get to root for 9 furlongs with a horse like Act a Fool in here. Pedigree suggests that, a mile and a half should be, comfortably in this horse's wheelhouse. It does have a big win, last year, or I guess 2 years ago, going a mile and an eighth, but has never been tried this far before. It does need to get faster, get considerably faster, but I kind of want an outsider in here, and this might be a race where the horse with the best trip wins. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's the most likely winner, but I do think he'll be your leader for, an extended period in this race. So I'm going to use Act a Fool. I'll probably have Ohana Honor. And then I didn't really know where else to go in this race. Some people might gravitate to a horse like the one Zevrev, coming off 3 wins. That's fine. Nothing wrong with the horse, but he also beat, Siciliano by a neck 3 back, and that horse is going to be 35-1 in this race. And to me, they're not that different. On numbers, or, whatever you want to call it. So for me, I just thought this was a wide open race. I was looking for horses that have recent form and that might be somewhat forwardly placed, which is kind of why I landed on the 2 and the 3 as my kind of top selections in here. Some of the others, I just don't think either want to go this far or coming off big layoffs, and I'm more inclined to kind of let some of those other beat me. But I'll be curious if Mark has something more insightful to say.
Yeah, so first off, I'll let Ohana Honor just beat me. A horse is 4 for 19 lifetime. Horses never strung together races that are, kind of big in consecutive efforts. Won the Knickerbocker last out in November. I just think this is the kind of horse at a short price you let beat you. This is just not the kind of horse that wins consistently. Putting back efforts together just seems like it's super out of the question. And I think this horse is just going to be massively overbet on the Pratt Simp angles. And there's also a pretty good argument that Shug's barn is kind of cold. I realize, 7 of those 17 have run second or third, but he's winless on the Gulfstream meet so far. And I think that there's a bunch of plays you can go. Zavrev, the one horse I am at least somewhat interested in, just on the fact that the horse does have some good recency and good form to Caleb's sort of point. You're looking for horses that do have that recency. And then somebody mentioned in chat going to the way outside. So I'm assuming they mean the 11 Divine Propos and not the 12 Hammerhead. Correct me if I'm wrong, Penn State Scott, but I thought Divine Propos, another one of these horses that doesn't win very often. And I don't know if this is necessarily a trip, but I love the fact that Oysen Murphy is getting up on this one. Oysen is as good as they come, world-class turf jock. So interesting to see him, him pick up this mount. Horse, does have a couple of wins going some of these longer trips, not this mile and a half, but a mile and 3/8. So interesting sort of player, and I think some of the races like that San Luis Rey fit pretty well versus this company. And the other horse I'm a little interested in, and Caleb is gonna fall out of his chair when I say this, is the 8 horse Awfully Naughty. I realize this horse has been off. There it is, the epic eye roll. This horse has been off for a year and a half. I get it. I understand. I understand all the angles. But if you're gonna be 12-1 on a horse that has some figures that fit, never was a win machine, but does have a win going this trip, and very interesting to see Luis Saez, who's hitting what is as good as anybody at Gulfstream taking this mount. Horse does need a pace setup up front. I don't know necessarily who produces that pace setup, but at 12-1, I thought Awfully Naughty off the long layoff was a little interesting in here.
People were still wearing masks the last time this horse won.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Oh man.
But you also made the argument that this race is a little bit suspect on class and horses that like to win. So, I think this is the kind of spot you take those sort of shots.
Man, I hate the layoff, the 500+ day layoff. I mean,
Yep.
that's
Don't like it either. But the works
if he was
coming
a
into this are pretty
5-year-old,
solid.
Maybe if he was 5 coming into this spot, I'd give him more look. But an 8-year-old to come off of a, since Y2K to come back and run a 1.5 mile race. I hope nothing happens to this horse because this is just, this is a high risk move here.
Oisin Murphy by
Oisin, sorry. I always say Oisin because I heard some British guy say Oisin once, and I'm sure I'm
Did you know
realizing
that
it.
he spent like an entire meet at Gulfstream?
Yeah, a couple years ago.
In
Didn't he also
2024?
spend part of the European season in jail or something for drunk
I
driving?
mean, he did, but I'm just saying he spent like an entire meet at Gulfstream and like nobody noticed.
Nobody
So-
noticed
He
that
didn't
he
really
was there, and
do
it was like
anything. I mean-
nobody mentioned that literally the best turf track in the world is at Gulfstream for a winter meet. Yeah.
Anything else in this race you guys want to talk about? I thought it was a tough race. I like this is I think one of those other races like I on the stream I was on before. There were people talking about this 12 Hammerhead, coming in here, being on the outside, maybe be able to track a little bit from there. There was some love for the 11 as well. Caleb's favorite horse, the 9, Balnikov's in here.
Who
He's
none of
double
us
entered
talked
though,
about.
right?
What's up?
Isn't he dual entered?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
entered at something shorter.
But good race here, and then we move on to the Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf race number 10, the second leg of the Tropical Turf Pick 3, and your morning line favorite in here, I believe, is the 7 Whiskey Decision. 9-2 here for Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. You get the 11 at 5-1 in our time. Mark, I'll let you start in this race. How did you kind of see this?
Yeah, this is, I think, probably one of the most fun betting races. This and the 11th, I thought to me were the most fun betting races on the card. I almost hate that you threw me up here first because I kind of ended up on some pricier horses, in this spot. I think there's a couple interesting players in here. I'm sure Josh is on Whiskey Decision because Pratt Simp, obviously he's going to land there. But I thought Whiskey Decision was probably ends up quite a bit shorter than that morning line of 9-2. Horse that does like this trip, and it fits in here, right? The speed figures fit. Horse that it had some good form in here, and I thought was an interesting, very very interesting player in here. But the horse that I'm most interested in, and I think the one that'll probably get a little stupid around if a tournament play is the 4 Breath Away for Oisin Murphy, who I've been corrected that I mispronounced it the first time around. Gets them out from Miguel Clement. And again, another one of these horses that really likes this trip, really seems to like Gulfstream Park, and seems to be really rounding into some really solid form as a 6-year-old. If you look at the last 5 or 6, the form has really been trending in the right way. So I think Breath Away to me is the horse I'm most interested in this spot. But a million other ways you can go in here. So interested to see where you guys landed.
Yeah, I thought this was one of the tougher races, if not the toughest race in the sequence for me. I like your 4, Breath Away. Makes a ton of sense here. I think it's got some back races that obviously fit in here. Obviously, that 122 time form, 2 back looks really good. Where she finished second to Special One in that spot. Going a little bit further here, but I probably don't need to worry about that too much here. I do like the 7 Whiskey Decision. I mean, it's a Chad Brown horse off a 132-day layoff. Lavian Pratt gets aboard. I mean, and Caleb's not going to bet this horse because this is the fakest Chad you could probably
Oh
find.
yeah.
I mean,
It's so
this is
fake.
a horse.
So
This is a horse
fake.
that was at Turfway Park, and then once it got into Chad's barn, went straight to Monmouth. Didn't even, I mean, just didn't even go to Aqua, just straight to Monmouth with you. So,
I mean, the horse had a win at Monmouth. I'm sure there's Monmouth works. I mean, this is the fakest Chad that ever did for Chad. So,
but on paper, this horse looks pretty good. And then obviously the 11 In Our Time. I love me some speed. I love me some Safi. Honestly, the wrong Ortiz is aboard here, which is like I would be keying this horse so much harder if there was a J instead of an I in front of Ortiz on there. But we'll see if Saturday IRAD can pull some magic out here. I mean, I think figures wise, this is probably like the most consistent horse in this field. This is the horse that runs her race every single time. I mean, is coming into here off some pretty good form against Grade 1 and Grade 2 company, right? Finishing second in both those races. With decent figures there, has been basically rattling off around that 120 range every single time. So definitely a horse that I'm going to be using. The only horse I in here that maybe is a bit of a price, and we'll see if we get that price, is the number 9 Creval Doro. Jose D'Angelo trains, and this is a horse that was in Mark Cassie's barn. It's doing fine, and then had a barn change to Lauren Robson. Wins a race at Kentucky Downs, runs a solid second in that or fourth, in that Goldacova, and then comes back here to Gulfstream Park, tracks the pace from 6th, and goes and wins by a head, and just very, very nice, professional type win, stalking the pace and finding the wire at the right time. So I think this is a horse that might just be peaking at the right time. And, you're getting a horse that's coming in on good form. You're getting a horse with a local trainer here who, loves to win here at Gulfstream Park. I mean, I love this horse. I love the price. 12-1, I think, is a great price on this horse. So I got the 4, the 7, the 9, and the 11. I got them all as A's in this race. Because like I said, I'll be playing that turf pick 3 here, and I'm gonna be pretty narrow, I believe, in the next leg. So, we're gonna spread here a little bit to see if we can get a ticket home here. But Caleb, what'd you think here?
Yeah, so I think we're in the same zip code anyway. I think we all think Breath Away is an interesting player in here. I'm probably not as high on him as Mark or maybe as you, but that's a horse that will be on some of my tickets, maybe as a B, as a 3rd or 4th pick for me in here. I definitely agree with you, Josh, about Creval d'Oro. I think that price is not going to hold, but this is a horse who on any set of figures recently has been better, has improved since leaving Woodbine and coming to the States, and improved again last out for Jose D'Angelo. So this is a horse that I definitely like here. I won't have Whiskey Decision on any tickets. That should go without saying. I think those time form figures are garbage in the last 3 races. The runbacks have not supported the races being that fast. And if you look at Thorograph or Brisnet, this horse is not fast enough to win, essentially, in her last 2 starts. So for me, I don't need her on the overbet connection angle. The 2 horses that I kind of want to talk about that I don't think we've really touched on is the number 2 Heredia, and I don't know if maybe somebody touched on this horse or not yet. This horse has essentially never had a fast pace to run at in her entire career. If you look at time form, every race has essentially blue fractions, and she's always trying to come from way too far back, with the exception of the one race that Hernandez just said, hell with it, I'll go, and then wired a field. You know, I think she's better off the pace, and I think she might finally get an honest pace today. I don't know that this race absolutely melts down. That's not what I'm saying. But I think with, you know, a horse like In Our Time, who Josh mentioned on the far outside, probably having to go from that post. I mean, that's where she's best anyway, but also needs to clear and get over. And then a couple other horses like, you know, the number 5 Classic Q and, you know, potentially, you know, even like the number 10 horse and One More Time. You know, Castellano is also kind of known for giving some of those heady, let me just see if I can steal it kind of rides. So I think the pace should be fair in here. And a horse like Heredia, I do think, was keeping incredible company in Europe back in her heyday. Isn't the same horse as she used to be, but I still think is a good enough horse to take down a pretty weak running of the Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf, in my opinion. So I do like Heredia. And the other horse I might give a look to is actually a horse I mentioned who admittedly needs to run quite a bit faster, but it's the number 5 Classic Q. This horse, you know, was a fantastically talented 3-year-old during the first half of the turf racing season last year. And that didn't, you know, it wasn't a coincidence that coincided with most of the turf racing being at Gulfstream. You know, ran a couple of, you know, of nice figures for her 3-year-old season. And then as she got over the more demanding, you know, boggier turf, the more traditional turf at Saratoga and at Keeneland at Churchill, I mean, you know, her form didn't quite hold together as she also moved up in class. But I thought last time she ran really good to run, you know, 3rd, beaten less than a length by Lush Lips, who, you know, is certainly no slouch. And I just wonder, you know I just said the pace should be honest in here, and I do think that. But I also know that Irad Ortiz is riding the 11 horse. And and to Josh's point, Irad on speed, probably especially on a turf race, is just an angle that I detest. And I just don't know that he's going to give an intelligent ride on this horse. And Jose is an incredible speed rider. He's drawn inside. And if Jose goes, I don't know that Irad's going to send the 11 to go press his brother. So for me, I'm almost playing some, maybe a little bit of a Swami angle here. But I think getting back to Gulfstream, where this horse has had her most success, and catching a very firm turf course, you know, maybe she takes that step forward. 6-1 is not the right price. I would probably want double that, but I think you'll probably get it. So for me, Classic Hugh is another horse that I'll have on a couple tickets.
So you're gonna bet Manny at 8-1?
I don't love that, no, but I am gonna bet Manny at 8-1. But I do wish it was somebody else.
Okay, I was a little concerned. The one horse that nobody has mentioned that I think Penn State Scott mentioned is the 8 Proctor Street, who is a somewhat of an interesting player in here. I will have zero money going through this horse simply on the jockey, because I just, this is a legit jockey county with some horses that actually fit, and Gaff will find a way to F this up. But anybody give Proctor Street a bit of a look in here at a price?
Yeah, I'll have Proctor Street on a lot of my tickets.
I'll tell you, the guys I streamed with earlier, they were all over it, all over this horse.
Yeah.
They love Proctor Street. So
yep, I'm definitely probably an A for me.
Okay, cool.
I saw Understand Life talking about the 14, one of the AEs. Do you guys give either of these AEs a look?
I thought the 14 of the AEs was interesting. I don't know who ends up on Candy Quest if Candy Quest does draw in, but I thought Awesome Jack is a horse that does really like to win. Now, first time at Gulfstream, but does love this trip. Again, you're drawn in the parking lot, but you're going to get every bit of 20-1 on that horse, just due to the post draw. So, on that horse's best day, totally a fit, and a horse that I think is extremely interesting in here. So yeah, definitely a horse I would want a little bit of.
I'll be surprised if this horse even ships, being 14 on the list and a barn that doesn't ship and isn't based in Florida. I don't think they're going to ship. If she draws in, I'd probably have her as a B. The post is tough, but I'd probably have her as a B.
Yeah, same. It should be a B for me.
Anything else in this race?
I mean, I'm kind of fading the Woodbine runners in here, so Caitlin Her Greatness and Ready for Cheryl. To me, they just don't seem to be the same horse on synthetic as they are on the turf, and they kind of struggle to bring their game outside of their home track up at Woodbine. But did either of you two give them a look?
You made a case for One More Time at 10, right?
I wouldn't say a
Or
case for the
you're
horse. I think the horse could play a role in the pace.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. No, I really didn't. I did the same thing, Caleb. I tended to fade the Woodbine shippers. I don't really trust figures that come out of Woodbine personally.
And honestly, like I mean, it's the right trainers, right? It's Kevin Attard and it's Roger Atfield, right? Those are like, if you're gonna bet a Woodbine shipper, I mean, I guess outside of Mark Cassidy, right? But if you're gonna bet a Woodbine shipper, from a straight Woodbine trainer, those are the guys, right? With the turf horses. Ready for Sherrill, I think, just started going the wrong way a little bit at the end of the year. I think that this is probably one that's going to need a start. The fact that JJ doesn't stay here after riding this horse twice, unless Roger Atfield, thought that maybe that's the reason the horse went through. I don't know, but I mean, obviously the 120 on paper looks great, right? Three back, but I don't know. I didn't get there, and then the 6. I think the 6 is better on synthetic. But I don't know. It just wasn't for me.
If you want a stat, Atfield is 1 for 25 over the last 5 years, going long on the grass after a 90 to 250 day layoff. So, yeah.
I wish I had my little ding button, but instead I just got this.
I mean, the horse is 20-1, right? Like I'm dunking on a 20-1 horse. Like, if you like the one, hey man, have at it. But
All right. Let's move on to race 11, the inside information, inside information.
yes,
Grade 2 here, and this is for fillies and mares 4 years old and up. Memorial Line favorite in here is actually a turf horse, the 3 Jody's Pride. I mean, obviously has had some success. Won the Ruffian on the dirt, but last 2 starts on the turf. They tried something different there, going to Kentucky Downs and Keeneland, coming back to the dirt. Ran 3rd in this race last year, so it does have some form here at Gulfstream Park, and 4-1 is kind of a lukewarm favorite here. You get 9-2 on Indy Bay's Safi Irad horse here, but I didn't end up on either of these horses here. I kind of landed on a couple of prices. I think my top pick might actually be the 6 horse, Beyond Belief. Granted, right, this is a horse that speed figure wise trails his field a little bit, right? But obviously newly turned 4-year-old, right? Young, kind of maturing into her 4-year-old season here. But this horse, I mean, you look at the last 6 starts, all this horse has done is take a step forward, take a step forward, take a step forward. Coming in here off of 2 straight wins, including a very impressive 9.5 length win here, going this exact trip in an allowance race. Joe Bravo stays aboard here. And I just think that this is like right place, right time for this horse, right? Maybe this is, peaking at the right time, coming into this race with good form, just needs to take a little bit of a step forward. And, I think this horse is right there. And you're getting 12-1. I think that's a nice price here for the 6. So that's my top pick. I like the speed on the outside, the 11, Grand Job here for Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott. Looks to be the speed of the speed, the controlling speed here is drawn outside. But I really think it's only got one option, and that's to go. Now, granted, you look at that last race, and the wheels kind of fell off there. A little bit one of those. I think you kind of cross the line through that race, and you got nothing really to complain about, right? You got a horse that's 3 for 4. So it's gonna. We'll see how this horse kind of bounces back. I don't really know. I always feel like Bill Mott's not usually this aggressive with a horse. I feel like he spots his horses well. I don't think he would be putting this horse in if he didn't think he had a shot. To go straight into graded stakes here off of that effort. So, Junior getting the board, I think, is a positive, right? He goes to his go-to guy here. So I really like the 11 in this spot, and then I also like the 2 necessity here. Um, and this is just another horse I think that um, is going to be sitting this mid-pack trip. Manny Franco gets aboard, and I think has got a couple of back races that look really, really nice in here. And it's just another horse that I think was starting to kind of really improve towards the end of last year. Newly turned 4-year-old, and I think is a horse that's going to be kind of coming in here with good form. And I don't recall, this might have been a horse this might have been a horse that looked okay on the workout reports. I got to remember if that's what I didn't put a note down, but I really did like this horse at 2-1. Is going to be kind of coming from mid pack here, and I think does need to take a little bit of a step forward, but I think is could be just right there. So I got the 6 is my top pick, but I'll also be using the 2 and the 11. Mark, where did you land?
Yeah, so I absolutely love Indy Bay, the rail horse, the one horse in the spot. This is a horse that this has been what's worked for this horse. This horse loves these 6 furlong, 7 furlong kind of trips. Has been very, very good running them. 2 for 2 going this trip. Broke her maiden at Gulfstream going 7 furlongs. So and I think she's the type they took a shot in the cotillion. They were trying to see, could she stretch out, carry some of her speed, go a little bit further. I don't know what happened there. It's more than just it seems to be a little bit more than just she didn't love the trip. It seems like she kind of lost action and she just kind of gave up. But she's been off since September, and it seems to be training fine at Prairie Meadows. So, I think Indy Bay to me is just sort of the horse to beat in this spot. I really, really like her here, and I think she's the kind of horse you can kind of key around. If she runs back to any of her prior 7 furlong races, she's going to be extremely, extremely tough in here. The other horse I liked a little bit of was the 9 Patricia Ann. Coming out of the Martin Carlos barn and into the Jose D'Angelo barn, and is a horse that doesn't necessarily love to win. It's been a little bit of time since she's been in the winner's circle, but she's shipping down from the duct, and a horse that has some tactical speed to be forwardly placed. I think that the barn change is kind of fits for her. This is a bit of a class test for her, but I think you'll get every bit of that 8-1. She's over 4 in stakes races, so is she just really that high end optional claimer kind of horse? I don't know. Maybe that's all she is. But I think it's interesting to see her in the spot. We'll see. Can she take that step forward? I think you'll get probably Sayers may hurt the price, but I think you'll get every bit of the 8-1. So I thought Patricia Ann was another interesting sort of player in here, but interested to see what Caleb thought of this one.
Yeah, this is a good race when we're all on completely different horses.
Okay.
I thought this race was so hard. And for me, it's because so many of the main players are just not trustworthy in here. I mean, you look at who I guess is your favorite, the number 3, Jody's Pride. I mean, her best race probably wins. But boy, have they been all over the map with this mare. I mean, They've tried 2 turns, 1 turn, turf, dirt. I mean, she's coming out of a turf route now into a dirt sprint. I mean, I do think that probably a dirt, 1 turn mile or maybe 7 furlongs is where she's best. So I am kind of like begrudgingly going to use her, but I don't trust this horse at all. The problem is that the next, 2 or 3 likeliest winners are even less trustworthy. I mean, for me, Indy Bay, this horse hasn't been seen since September. Clearly, I won't hold a cotillion against her, right? I mean, that's not so much that she didn't win the race, but kind of the way that she lost action, pulled up, and then went on the shelf for 6 months is a little concerning to me. Her only figure that kind of, fits in this group was a Charlestown figure, which I'm a little bit skeptical of as well. So, she's not one I'm keen to take a short price on. You go to the far outside, the Josh's horse, Grand Job. I mean, boy, did this horse lay an egg as the odds-on favorite last time out. I mean, just hard to really explain what happened. I mean, maybe you say Belmont runs her back here because he figured something out, but I also look at the work pattern and I see almost a 1 month break between the December 20th and January 18th work. I hate seeing that. For me, I'm kind of hesitant to take a horse at 6-1 or third choice in this field, with some big questions. So I kind of did ultimately, while I begrudgingly will use Jody's Pride, I kind of ended up on, the horse that I think has the most upside and the horse that is the most consistent. So the number 6, Beyond Belief, who Josh already talked about, kind of an interesting runner because Time Form has her as kind of just a player in here. Whereas the Thorograph has her last figure as, by and away the best figure anyone's run in the race, essentially. If she runs back to that, she probably wins. Can she run back to that off of Lasix? Does she bounce to the moon off of that? More than likely, yes, she does bounce. But the price will be right for me to probably take a shot there, especially given her 2 kind of smashing performances off the layoff, going 7 furlongs here at Gulfstream. She's a horse that I think has a lot more upside as a newly turned 4-year-old. And then the most consistent runner in the field is probably the number 8, Sterling Silver. Not a sexy runner by any means, has, kind of toiled in the New York bred ranks for a long time, but, has, hit the board in a couple of, grade 2 races. It came off a nice win last time out, here at Gulfstream, going a mile, but, 7 furlongs, I think is really kind of her best trip. So for me, I like Sterling Silver. I don't know how much pace she's going to get because I don't know what some of these, poor form or layoff horses are going to do. But, I think as long as there's a fair setup up front, I mean, she'll be coming running late. And, to me, it's not, is she good enough to win? It's, are the horses who have more upside than her actually going to show up? Because if they don't, I think she is your winner.
I saw Stephen Fox talking about the 10-1 Magic Filly. No one really talked about it. There was a lot of talk about this earlier when I was on with the other guys. So they all seem to really like this horse. And you guys give this horse a look at all?
Yeah, I did. I have the horse written down as a B. My main issue with One Magic Philly is sort of after the barn switch, the form has really kind of seemed to kind of fall apart. I don't know. Maybe this will just needs a rebound, but you're getting Gaff and you're getting sort of and I mean, as much as I dunk on Gaff, he's clearly not my favorite jockey, but I think Pratt kind of went elsewhere, which tells me what I need to know. And I feel like this one's been a little class exposed, but at 10-1, I don't hate this horse, who probably should sit the right kind of trip. So,
yeah, kind of similar take as Mark. At 10-1, I don't hate her. A little bothered by the decreasing speed figures. Her previous 2 races have all been progressively slower ever since that win 3 back. Don't know that 7 furlongs is really her best distance. So questions to answer. Wouldn't want a short price on her, but 10-1's fair.
yeah, agreed.
Anything else here on this race? No,
Tough race, really wide open. You can see how we all are kind of playing it. This is definitely a spready one. So
if it wasn't if I couldn't say that about 4 of the 6 races we cover, this is the race I'd most want to probably buy or at least have a ton of coverage in. I think this race sets up for a bomb. I just don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I thought race 10 and 11 are both those ones you kind of want to. If you have the bankroll and you can kind of hit the all button in race 10 and race 11, I thought those are the 2 that get you get a chance for a big price and get really spicy payout here.
On the plus side, Caleb, you can always single in the next race. And
so
honestly, if
you
we
could
if
you
weren't
were
streaming
an
so
idiot.
late, I would get the other night on the phone because I'm sure he's going to be just as excited to run this back as I am in race 12, the grade 1 Pegasus Turf. And we got Money Mike Smith shipping in. Now, people are asking, is Mike Smith shipping in for the Pegasus or is he shipping in for Cabo Spirit? I think I know who he's shipping.
Whoa, hold on. What people are asking, who are these people? I would like their names.
I'm just saying,
because they're all idiots.
People are asking questions on what horse is Mike Smith here for? I mean, he's here for Cabo Spirit, baby. The horse is just going to hit the nitro. I mean, like, look, loves Santa Anita, loves that speed favoring turf. And if you want to find another turf course that's just as speed favoring, I mean, it's going to be
You,
Gulfstream Park, baby.
you got the spiffy new soundboard. We told you you need an E8 cheap speed Josh special. Yeah, okay. It needs to be a better. I respect it, but
Oh,
I mean, oh. Did you hear the part at the end? That's where they remember that they have to go.
look at
Yeah, and actually
look at
cross the
sometimes it
finish line.
happens, right? And it was funny
Okay.
because I was talking earlier. I was like, man, this card. Maybe I just love this card because I got like all my pets are in this race, are in these races too. All right, because we got Cabo Spirit in here, right? We got White Barrio in the next race, and then we got probably the coolest horse in training in oh man, why am I blanking on the horse's name now? Banishing, running also next. I mean, like, man, just
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, I'm single Aing Cabo Spirit every which way. My turf pick 3 ends with a single in Cabo Spirit. My entire day, my entire weekend is gonna go depending on how Cabo Spirit goes.
Think about the thing you
And
just said. I need you to think about what you're doing.
hey, look at
Josh.
last time it happened, I was dancing. Last time I said those same exact words, I was dancing. So, but we'll see, right? I mean, I don't know, man. Outside of program trading, I don't really think that there's any horses that like Cobble Spirit hasn't run as fast as, and I don't know, man. Program trading. I don't know. I hate this horse, man.
Fake.
I just do not like this horse. I mean, he's a Grade 1 winner, but he's a Grade 1 winner from Churchill Downs, which is just a funky turf course still. I guess he won a Saratoga Derby, but those races don't count either. It's I don't know, man. I just don't like this horse. I feel like, he every once a year he runs a really really nice race, but I think his average race is just in with the rest of this field here. So I have a hard time taking a short price on it. The only other horse I'm interested in this race is all the way on the outside, and that's the 12 Fort Washington. And we're going back to the I see.
That's
you, Mark.
right.
I see you, Mark. We're going back to the Fort Washington train, because look, this is a horse that closed into a slow pace in that Arlington Million. I think that this horse was just absolutely criminally underrated last year. At Kentucky Downs kind of laid an egg, but we all know Kentucky Downs was just completely speed favoring. That horse had no shot in that race. And I mean, it just put together a really, really good year in 2025, including a win over Major Dude in this spot in the Canadian, right? Finished 5th in this race last year. Coming back here, and I think that this is a horse that does have the type of upside that could win this race. So, I got 2 horses in this race. I got Cabo Spirit as my lone A here, and then I got Fort Washington as my lone B. Mark, you just like been rolling your eyes and just like want to vomit. So why don't you just spit it out? What did you like here?
Well, here's the thing. Like, this is one of those races where I do want to beat the 2 short-priced horses. I think program trading on paper fits, but this is a horse that doesn't like to win. It definitely has not liked to win recently. And I know Caleb's going to think this horse is fake, and I kind of think program trading is sort of fake. And I think the other horse that if you look at figures is Kukino, the 10, is the other horse that kind of jumps off the page at you. But Pratt gets off this, Johnny V gets up, Shug Barnes been cold. I think this is the kind of race where you go and try to find some prices. The problem is I just found prices that are different than you guys. And I don't know if that's not a bad thing. It means I probably get my price. So my top 2 in here are the 3 Beach Gold and the 4 One Stripe, who are both sort of what I feel like outsiders looking in. Beach Gold has historically probably been your horse for course, really likes Gulfstream. And Biancone Barn's been firing, and Egan up for the Biancone Barn has been extra firing. 12 races in the last year, $5.35 ROI. And Beach Gold is also a horse that you can make a pretty good argument has gotten like the I don't know, the shallow end of the jockey pool for some of the horses that have drawn on this horse. And I think that Beach Gold's best races, really kind of fit in here pretty darn well. The other horse I thought was really interesting was One Stripe, who was a horse that Grand Motion brought over from Grand Motion brought over from South Africa. Horse was extremely good over there, and I don't know what happened to the Wood of My Mile. And in the Breeders' Cup Mile, the horse invented a whole bunch of trouble. The last out race though with Johnny V up was extremely impressive. Very much handwritten out, absolutely exploded and kind of won for fun across this Gulfstream Park surface. And then you're seeing the local South African jock fly in to pick up the mount. So interesting horse, I think, as well. So I'm going to probably try to get a little too cute and build around the 3 Beach Gold and the 4 One Stripe in this spot and try to beat some horses I think are a little suspect.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, actually. I probably more agree with Josh in the sense that Cabo Spirit and Fort Washington are my top 2 selections in here. They're both going to be A's for me. And I'm not even really memeing. I do think Cabo Spirit kind of gets out there as loose as he wants, and they're going to have to come get him. And he's really matured, as a 7-year-old. I mean, he's been, surprisingly, better than ever recently. So we'll see if he can take his game outside of California. I mean, that kind of remains the question, which is why I am maintaining Fort Washington as an A. I do wish that Fort Washington maybe didn't draw quite so far in the parking lot or had a more recent race. But this is just an old pet horse of mine who's made me plenty of money. So I do think he's a very formidable horse on his day. But to Mark's point, I also really like Beach Gold, who I think is a great price in here and is definitely drawn best of the off the pace runners. Doesn't need to come from way back. Could get a more forward trip here, depending what David Egan decides to do. Does like Gulfstream. So for me, I do like Beach Gold in here quite a bit. I gave a look to One Stripe. That last race, I think, is Lasix aided. It just kind of doesn't fit with what I've seen him run in his prior 2 races. But if he does get back to that, he'd be a player in here, and I think you'll get your price due to the jockey. And then the other horses I want to mention a bit. I'm not using program trading. This horse, I mean, big figs and losses and high profile races are like my least favorite horses to bet. Okay, congratulations, you ran a 129 in the Breeders' Cup, but you ran 10th. I mean, just get out of here. So I don't need program trading. You also couldn't beat world beater Donegal Momentum and the Bernard Baruch at 1-2, so you can miss me with that shit. The only other horse that I might touch on a bit, and I don't think the price is quite right, but it's the number 1 test score. This was probably your most consistent 3-year-old runner of the crop. Maybe Zulu Kingdom would be up there if they actually campaigned him like they thought he was a real racehorse, but at least test score actually went out and danced every grade 1 and showed up in all the big spots. It definitely took full advantage of the restricted 3-year-old races by skipping any opportunity to run against older horses. But now he's gonna, test the deeper waters here and kind of see how he does. I don't think this is a very deep running of the Pegasus, turf. Pretty much evidenced by the fact that 2 7-year-olds in Cabo Spirit and Fort Washington are my top picks. But test score is the one horse that I think is kind of unquestionably has the most upside in this field as a horse that just turned 4 and does have some figures that are, not fast enough to win, but probably within 5 points or so of what I think will be required to win this race. And it drew super well here down to the inside. And goes out for a really hot Grand Motion barn who's, firing, 5 for 10 so far in the meet. So I do like test score in here. Manny Franco will need to figure something out, but honestly, he can't do any worse than Juan Hernandez did last time. So, as long as he can get a clear run, he's one that, again, 8-1, maybe not my preferred price there, but if he floats up a bit, I think he's usable.
Was there a single Manny horse on this entire sequence you didn't like?
It is kind of alarming, isn't it?
It is a little concerning, yeah.
Who's he on in the big race?
Oh, I don't even know. Does he have a mount?
Yeah, he's on Mika. I don't like him, so there's one.
Okay, cool. That's one. Did anybody give Major Dude a little bit of a look in here at a price who does like Gulfstream, likes this trip, gets a rad? I think you get everybody to the 8-1, right?
I mean, my personal bias is that I've never thought this horse was any good, and he just kept tripping out.
Tripping out.
But now he like came back as an older horse, and like, I mean, I don't think he's a grade 1 horse, and I don't know if this is a grade 1 field, but I think there's others I'd rather use in here. I mean, I'd rather use the horse to his out, well, not his immediate, but 2 outside and number 9 Chasing the Crown, who I think is a better horse than Major Dude, and is probably going to be twice the price. So if I'm kind of looking at him, I'd rather go bigger, but I wouldn't be super surprised if he wins.
Major Dude, just like, I feel like everyone, he had a really nice like 3-year-old season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
He had a really nice 3-year-old season, and everyone's like, all right, man, let's see what this horse does at 4. And then he just basically has proceeded to run the same exact race for like the last 2 years. And like sometimes that race is like good enough to win, and so he wins, a couple of races here and there. But I just kind of like looking through his like past performances, man. Like you go back to his, you go back to his 3-year-old season, he was running 116, and then he had a couple of 120s, and that's just kind of where he's been the last 2 years. So I just don't think that he ever really took that like big step forward from 3 to 4. But I mean, sometimes a 120 just wins a grade 3. He's just that kind of horse. I just think that I just don't think it's going to be good enough to win here. Anything else on this race? All right. Let's move on to the big one, the Pegasus World Cup. Mile and the 1/8 here, grade 1. Your morning line favorite is actually going to be the 1 Disco Time at 8-5. Mark, I'll let you go first here. What did you think of Disco Time in this race?
As is no shock, I am on the chalk in here. I think you just single Disco Time and move on. I realize this is a really lightly raced horse. This is a 4-year-old that only has 5 starts, but the horse has been extremely impressive, and every single start, the figures trend in the right direction. If you believe that Dwyer, which I don't necessarily know if I believe the time form fig on the Dwyer, but this horse's last 2 starts have been just absolutely monstrous. And, I think the issue becomes in here, where else do you go? If he runs back anywhere near that Dwyer, he wins this absolutely for fun. Yeah, it's the longest test of his career, but the pedigree's there for him to be able to handle this. And, I think there's gonna be people that are gonna make cases for horses like Skippy, or they're gonna make cases for horses like a Captain Cook or a White Barrio. And I think, I don't know, maybe not so much with Captain Cook, but with White Barrio or Skippy, like they're on the backside of their career, and I don't think there's any surprises where they're going to step up and take a major effort. Maybe Disco bounces a little or something, but I just think that last effort was huge, and he's just much the horse to beat in this spot. And I think in this sequence, I can single the first leg, I can single the last leg, and I can be really spready in the middle. So I think I'm going to loan a Disco Time. A couple of horses I might use as Bs, but I think I want most of my money going through him.
Caleb.
Yeah, I have. If that time form fig on Disco Time is real, I'm the king of Greenland. I mean, give me a break. I mean, 136 in the Dwyer, like just the most asinine. I would be embarrassed to publish that number. I mean, honestly. So that is just obscene. I mean, if you want to talk about a disparity in figures, I mean, Thurgraph has the race fast. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't know what Bayer did with it. I guess they have it, pretty impressive. But I mean, a 136 on time form, I mean, that's a 118 Bayer or some shit. I mean, get out of here. If this horse was legitimate, I don't think he gets shipped to the St. Louis Derby. And, I don't even know what FPK is. Fairplex?
Fairplex.
Fairmount
FanDuel.
Park.
They renamed it. Yeah.
Oh,
Fairmount
FanDuel.
Park, yeah, FanDuel.
I mean, there's no way this horse goes here if he's even remotely legitimate. And then he goes in November into a 3-year-old restricted race for a 1-turn mile. I mean, I just don't believe it. You know, I think there's other speed in here. I think the post kind of crushes him. I know he doesn't need the lead, but it's clearly where he's, you know, had his most success. And I just think he's going to get way over bet and what I think is actually a competitive race. So Disco Time, absolutely not for me. You know, my top selection actually is the other Brad Cox in here, Tappan Street, who certainly needs to run faster, but you got to look back and figure, I mean, this is a horse who's 3 for 4 lifetime, you know, with just 1 loss, you know, by a length here. Every race has come at Gulfstream, you know, so you know he likes this track. He already has a win going 1 mile and an 1/8 here at Gulfstream, and he beat a horse that was kind of okay last year named Sovereignty in that Florida Derby. Clearly, you know, something went wrong. I think he had a condylar fracture or some kind of a bone issue, had to go off the Derby trail, came back at odds of 1 to 1,000,000,000 and did what he was supposed to do in that race. The figure didn't come back all that fast. I'm not sure how much I believe that figure either. The 4th place horse, Solo Venturi, came back to run a 120 on time form in a win in his next start. For comparison, he ran like a 106 in that, so he improved it by about 15 points. I think that might be reasonable to expect. We're going to see Tappan Street run something in the 120s here if he shows up like the horse that I think he is. And I'm not worried about losing Irad. You know, Sias kind of has had them out most of the career, and you know I respect the fact that they stick with him. You know, very tractable horse, can work out any kind of a trip here. So does need to take a bit of a step forward, but all the upside in the world, second off the layoff, and I do like Tappan Street in here more. So between the 2 Coxes, I will take you know, the one that doesn't ship into, you know, the St. Louis Backyard Derby and actually, you know, runs at real racetracks. I think there's other ways you can go in here too. I don't think he's a single by any stretch, but I kind of want to see what Josh thinks first.
Yeah, I had a really hard time with this race. You know, obviously the one on paper, this one looks obviously a standout, but that one race, I mean, 136.
Josh, we all know what you're doing in here. You're singling White Barrio. Don't try to lie. We know what's going to happen. 100. You're going to all in White Barrio. Come on, Josh. Don't get us.
I took a much more gutless, I guess, stance here. I have the one as my lone A in here. I have 5 horses I'm using, but I do think that if I were to be playing something horizontally here, which, like I said, I'm mostly focused on the turf in this spot because I really do think that you know, Cabo Spirit's the goods in the race before, but I would be using this one as a lone A in here, even if this horse regresses 10 points. I mean, this horse, you know, I think is right in there, right? I mean, right, if you're looking at the highlight figures that we got up, you know, Full Serrano's got a 127. That was in that Breeders' Cup Mile that he won, and I mean, he hasn't been anywhere close to that, you know, since. So, I'm skeptical in not as animated of a way as Caleb is skeptical of the 136 figure, but yeah, I think it was probably closer to like a 127 that should have been given, not necessarily 136. But hey, you know, I'm not a figure maker. Maybe I can ask our friend Matt Carlson to see what he's got for that race. But I mean, this is just going to get all kinds of bad and ugly, and Mark's going to probably roll his eyes. They're going to do a whole, you know, 360, and Caleb probably too, because my lone B in this spot, my second choice in this race, is not White Barrio. It's not Banishing, and you know, it's not Skippy Longstocking.
Is it Matticat Road?
It is the number 6 Matticat Road.
Jesus Christ.
I
thought Mark
on
would have the worst
Matticat
take in this
Road.
race.
I am back on Matticat Road in this spot. I think I've told this story every single time that this horse has run since this race. and I'm betting this race, even though it wasn't even that fast of a figure, but that Rebel, where he just gutted out that race. I mean, I don't know. I think he's got one in him. I think he's got one in him. I think he's got a really, really nice race in him. And I mean, Bob's got nobody else left. Like, they're all gone. I mean, I don't even know who else is left in this barn after Madaket Road. But Money Mike Smith, people might think he's here for Madaket Road. No, he was here for Cowboy Spirit. But he picks up the mount here on Madaket Road. I actually really, really like him in this spot. I think he started kind of turning a little bit of a corner towards the end of the year. Granted, right? At Santa Anita, ran okay in that Malibu, but I don't know. I think I like the fact that they're stretching this horse back out. I mean, we're gonna see if this horse is gonna be able to improve at 4. Something different here. I mean, the 7 Tappan Street, I think, I don't know. Originally, I was against, but the more I've looked at this horse and the more I've heard and the more I've seen, I mean, this is going to be like the wise guy horse, isn't it? Right? I mean, this horse is probably going to end up being your second choice in this spot, I think, at this point. I think he might even be the second choice.
Insane. I absolutely think you're insane. But go on.
I honestly do. I think this horse.
I think you get 6 to 1. Every bit of it, and I want no part of it. Like, have fun.
But anyways, outside of the 1 and the 6, I mean, of course, you can't bet against White Barrio in Gulfstream Park. You absolutely can't. Even if this is going to be the last race you ever see him in, and I think this is it for the big guy. We'll see how he runs. I mean, I'll have him on. I have him as a C type in here. But I mean, he loves Gulfstream Park. If he can run back to something he did at the beginning of last year, I mean, he's in with a shot. But the other horse I actually kind of like in here is the 4 Banishing, who is just, I mean, doesn't matter the distance, man. This horse shows up, he runs. Honestly, I mean, the Lucas Classic and the Charlestown Classic, those 2 races, they kind of fit in with what the rest of this group is running, minus that 136 for disco time. So I actually really like Banishing in this spot. Yeah, I'm all over the place. I hear you guys typing, and I hear the Discord notifications going off. I don't care. I don't care who knows. Yeah, Madaket Road's going to be on most of my tickets, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm even if I should be. Mark, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, if you like Madaket Road, you do you. I think the only other horse that we really haven't talked about that I thought I was a little bit interested in was the 10 horse Mika. And I know Caleb made a case for every other Manny Franco ridden horse in the card, so I feel like I should make a case for this horse. This horse they tried on turf for a while and just didn't seem to be the thing. Threw him back on dirt. He got pretty decent, and I thought his Cigar Mile was fine. And he seems to be kind of trending in the right way. And it seems like one of these horses that they just didn't quite know what they had. They didn't quite know what he was, and they're sort of figuring it out and putting the pieces together with him. Like, oh, okay, he's a decent horse, and he wants to run on dirt, and and he kind of seems to be going in the right direction. That last out 114 is, well, I mean, I'm seeing that last out 125 on time form. It kind of fits with the better horses in this field, and just giving connections and given the angles in there, you probably get every bit of that 10 to 1. So I think the only other horse we didn't talk about was Mika the 10 that I want a little bit of, but Josh,
Wait,
I'm
hold
a
on.
little.
You give Caleb shit about taking the Manny Franco horse, and the one he doesn't take, you're like, I'm in.
Yes.
Dude, I thought my stomach hurt before coming on to this stream. But after what I just heard, you got, I mean, Mark is fully invested in speed figures that they time using a slide rule and an hourglass at Aqueduct, and Josh is investing in a horse that. When is the last time Handicaps Road even won a race?
Oh, has he won a race? I think
He
he's
literally
eligible
only
for
has a
N1X.
maiden win 2
Yeah,
years ago.
He's eligible for N1X.
Yes, December of 2020.
Like, I mean, oh my goodness gracious. I mean, while we're on the topic of just abysmal takes, I guess I'm gonna have one ticket with the number 2 British Isles on it. This horse is gonna be 50-1. He's not that much slower if you throw out all the stupid fake figures from the Aqueduct horses. And truthfully, White Abario, I mean, he can't win this race. He's been so mismanaged that he needs to retire. I love White Abario, but it's time, big guy. And you throw out some of his big performances and some of the flash in the pan Captain Cook 128 but never run back to it kind of performances, and British Isles isn't that slow. I mean, he's 117 on time form. He lost a war with Nevada Beach in that race, and Nevada Beach went on to just lose the worst of all photos in the Lafitte Pink Eye to Nisos, who is your BC Dirt Mile winner. I think this horse is going to get completely overlooked by no name connections and predominantly a turf body of work. Horse will be 50-1. Don't know that he can win this race, but I would much rather have him than Handicaps Road.
The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner comment felt like a shot right across Josh's bow there. That was rough. That was brutal. I mean, poor Josh.
Poor you too. You also were all over Citizen.
I was all over Citizen Bull as well. Yes, I was.
I see Fat Win says the 3 Full Serrano speed maps to get a soft run. I think that this horse, since that BC Mile, has kind of just not really come back to that.
Nope.
But I don't know. Did either of you guys look at this horse?
No, I mean he was clearly targeting the Dirt Mile again this year. It did not show up at the same race. We've never seen him run back to that race. And I don't know. I mean, software may see it differently, but my poor man's handicapping, I don't think he gets a soft pace or I think Handicaps Road and Mika are going to be right up there with him. Yeah. So
I think it's on honest enough pace where he will not get away with murder like he did.
Heck, I mean, I even think maybe a horse like Captain Cook stretching out, he might be one that kind of shows a bit of speed here. So
I have a soft spot for Captain Cook. This is like him someplace else that isn't this race.
All right, so what was the worst take of the night then?
Oh God,
Handicaps Road.
It's
Handicaps Road. It's Handicaps Road. There's no.
All right, we'll see. I mean, did Mark have you kept the rest of the card, or are you just?
Yeah, I did. No, I've got it.
What do you think? Just high level. What do you think of the rest of the card? I think
it's all really good. I think the undercard is a little easier. There's definitely some horses that kind of tower on figures and should be, they feel like they're very well meant. But I think everything from the turf sprints to the end of the card, the last 7 races are extremely tough. But like very good betting races, and they're the kind of races where if you find a price or two you like, and you can even play a pick 3 or something where you don't have to. I think we always talk pick 5s or pick 6s and that kind of stuff. Even if you find a pick 3 and you can get a couple of prices in there, you're really going to get paid in these kind of sequences just due to field size and due to how tough they are. So, very fun card, very BC-esque, right? Like big, tough, competitive fields and a lot of fun to take a stab at.
Yeah, perhaps maybe a turf pick 3 for $3.
Ooh.
Single to Cabo Spirit might.
I mean, is it Cabo Spirit or Handicaps Road, Caleb? Like, which is the worst take? You said you like
I'm
Cabo.
on board with Cabo Spirit. It's Handicaps Road though. I mean, absolutely not.
Explain to me like a 5-year-old Cabo Spirit, because I just don't get it.
E8 horse go vroom vroom. Other horse can't catch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. Cool.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us here on the Wrong Lead. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I'm at Cherry Drank. Mark is at Two Turns. Caleb's at Caleb WVU. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. We will catch you guys next week. We'll be covering some of the Derby prep races. Holy Bulls next week. I believe the Southwest. And
Flocal is next weekend.
Flocal's next weekend. And then the Withers is also next weekend.
It's a whole slew of Derby preps.
All,
next week,
dude, all three of them. Yep, everything's really
so
good.
We'll see. We'll have a stream, same time, same bat channel. We'll figure out what we're gonna cover, but we'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Stay warm if you're in the Midwest or Northeast. Let's make some money.